Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks for joining me today. I'm back with a new layout for the Paige Evans design team, and I'm going to be using the Whimsical collection today, as well as this cut file designed by Paige. It's called Half Flower, and I cut it really big on some white cardstock, and instead of using white cardstock as my background, I'm going to use this yellow and white striped pattern paper as my background. It's paper number 9. And I usually do 1 to 2 photos on my layouts. Every now and then I go for 3 or 4. Today I'm going to use 3, and these measure probably about 3 by 4, give or take a little bit. And it's just a couple of cute selfies that I took with my daughter. We were waiting for her doctor at the doctor's office one day, and I just thought they were all cute. And so I'm going to do a vertical row of all of the photos and then have the big flower on top of that row. So I am going to try to do a little bit of mixed media on this, and so to prep the pattern paper, I'm going to come in with some white gesso and just scrape it down. I'm going to primarily do it toward the middle of the paper, so you're going to be able to see all the yellow and white kind of on the top and the bottom and the sides. And I'm scraping it, I'm using my fingers to smudge it, and you can kind of see the end result right there. So my thought was I could not decide on a color scheme for this, so I thought, well, let's just use all the colors, because who doesn't love all the colors, right? And this is a technique I've done a gazillion times. So many people back cut files, you know, this is nothing new here. It just takes some time. And so what I did was when I peeled the flower off the cutting mat, I saved all the inside pieces and sort of placed them where they go inside the flower over to the left. You can see them there. And I'm just going to take each one and trace it onto a piece of paper from the 6x6 paper pad, and then cut it out and then stick it back in the place, kind of like a puzzle. And instead of backing the cut file, I'm going to place these shapes that I cut out on top of the cut file, and you're still going to be able to see the white outline of the cut file. I just wanted some dimension from the petals, and so once I get all of these shapes cut, what I'm going to do is glue it down. Each piece I'm going to glue down just the inside line of each piece so I can fold up the outer edge of each petal, and it's going to stand up off the page and look really dimensional and give it some really cool depth. So that was my thought, and so I just kept sorting through all the papers here. I do use a lot of the 6x6 papers, but I also go through some of the 12x12, and over on my blog post on Paige's blog, I'll have a list of every single paper that I did use. I just look through each paper, and you know, some of them are more solid and it's easy to just cut it, but then some of the other papers have different colors or different shapes or different patterns, and so you can kind of really pick and choose what part of that particular paper you want to use to back the cut file, or to do what you're doing here, paper piecing, or it's not backing the cut file, it's just filling it in, I guess you could say. So here's kind of the idea I've got going here. Nothing's glued down, so everything's still kind of messy and moving around, but I'm gonna have the flower on the top part of this page like you see here, and then I'm gonna have the photos lined up underneath it, and then I'm gonna do some mixed media underneath the pictures, because I feel like the top part of the page has got plenty of color. That flower pretty much encompasses all the colors, and so it's pretty busy all on its own. So I thought I would let the photos separate the pattern paper up top and the mixed media down below, if that makes any sense. And so now that I've got my gesso all down, it's nice and dry, I can start to come in with my mixed media. And so I pulled out some Distress Oxides. I love working with Distress Oxides, and I have so many colors that match the Whimsical collection perfectly. And so I've got those out, and all I'm going to do is take the actual pad of ink and scrape it down on top of the paper. And I kind of measured where my photos were going to go, and so you'd be able to see the color kind of running and blending underneath the line of photos. So I just smudge it down, spritz some water, and then I'm using my small square acrylic block that I've used for so long. It's so stained and so used. And then I'm just going to scrape it down and smudge it around and help that color kind of blend together. And I love the Distress Oxides because they have this really light, soft, chalky finish. And, you know, you could just keep adding color. You can use these wet, you can use these dry. And I'm just mainly going for some of the main colors that you see in the pattern paper flower. Mostly pinks, yellows, and aquas. Those are my favorite colors. And I'm going to use my brush a little bit and just add water and watch it kind of blend and smudge. And I know I say this a lot, but the gesso is what allows all this blending and smudging to happen, especially on top of pattern paper, because pattern paper is not really designed for a lot of water. I mean, it's definitely going to start to rip and tear, and as soon as you add anything liquid to pattern paper, it's going to just soak right through. And you can't really blend or smudge anything that just soaks right through. And so the gesso kind of protects the paper, and it allows all the water to kind of sit on top of it like you see here. And so that's what's happening. And I've been having some computer issues. My computer, I think it gets PMS sometimes, and sometimes it works great and sometimes it doesn't. So hopefully my voiceover is matching what you're seeing, because sometimes it catches and drags a little bit. So I'm just going to keep going, and hopefully it's making sense as you're watching. Okay, so I've got most of the bottom done for now. I'm going to let that dry, and then to work on the top part, I'm going to go ahead and start gluing things down. And you can see I'm just going to start to add a little bit of glue to the inside of each petal. And I thought about adding a little square of adhesive foam underneath the outer edge, but it was just way too dimensional. So I took that out, and then I just went back to gluing. And so the middle part, or the smaller part, is going to be glued down, and then I can go in once everything is dry and just sort of fold and bend up the outer petals. And here is everything done. You can kind of see what I'm talking about there with the dimension. Kind of curls up the flowers and just makes it look a little more real. And I love that. I love dimension, anything that kind of pops off the page. And it's probably going to flatten out a little bit once I put it in an album or something, but you know, that's okay. So I wanted a little bit more bold color down at the bottom, and so I'm just going to go back in with my foam ink blending tool and go back to the Distress Oxides and just sort of dip it onto the ink pad and then smudge it down on top of the matching color areas that I've got going down there at the bottom. And this is just going to darken things up a little bit and give it a little bit more of a punch of color. And this is really going to pop against the black and white photos, because everything on the paper, or on the background paper at this point, is nice and bright and bold. And then the black and white photos really contrast against that. And I love how that turns out. All right, I'm going to keep watching this. It keeps freezing a little bit, so hopefully, I don't know where I'm at watching this, but I've tried to voice this over so many times. I've rebooted, and I just don't know if it's my internet connection. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, but yeah. So I'm just going to keep going and hoping that this is all coordinating. All right, so I'm going to take my photos and add a little bit of tissue paper behind them just to give them a little bit of a layer of something behind there. I'm not going to add any pattern paper or anything like that really behind them, because I feel like there's already plenty of color going on, and like I said, the black and white really just pops against those colors anyway. I am going to I am going to add some adhesive foam behind the photos just to make them stand up a little bit more. And they're not going to be in a perfectly straight line. I want them a little bit crooked just because I'm a crooked kind of person, right? And so yeah, the middle one is a little bit higher and tilted than the other two. Okay, so now comes all the embellishing. I went through all of the whimsical goodies, and I've been wanting to use these little banner pieces on the chipboard stickers. And so I wanted to create an actual banner from them. And all the colors are perfect because I've used all the colors above the photo there, or the photos. So I'm going to take them all and add some adhesive foam behind them, and then I'm going to take a piece of white embroidery thread and add a little tip of glue, or just a little bit of glue, to the tops of each of the banners on the back, and then very carefully glue it down to the embroidery thread so I can literally hold it up like a banner. And it's going to just make it look a little bit more real, and it's going to allow me to kind of bend and manipulate it and kind of put it in a shape that I want. I am going to do lots of embellishing on top of this mixed media. I'm going to pull some things from the floral die cuts, which is that one big pack of all those gorgeous flowers. I go through the other die cut, the ephemera. I go through the sticker sheet, and I just try to mix and match different things and pull things that have the same colors that I've used at the top and that kind of contrast with some of the mixed media that I've done on the background here. Some things I try don't really go, so I put it back. So a lot of this process was just trying something here, trying something there, put it down, take it back, you know, and that's part of it. I didn't want to do too much, and I didn't want to cover up a lot of the mixed media, but I did want some things down below. So here comes the banner. It's all nice and dry, so now I can just kind of move it as is, and the adhesive foam that I added underneath, it's going to really make it stand up off the page, and I love that. I think it looks cute, because these are just some happy photos. You know, we're not celebrating a birthday or anything, but I just thought, I haven't used a banner in a while, and I've been wanting to use those little pieces, so they were perfect. And if I'm making a banner, I like it to have an actual, you know, string or rope or something to hang it from, so it looks even more real. So I know that's exactly where I want it to go, so I'm going to go ahead and start to glue most of those pieces down and just let the string kind of flow. And so I'm going to add that big purple flower underneath right there on the pink part, and then just kind of keep playing around with things. I'm going to use some stickers, some flower stickers from the sticker book, and again, all of this is from the Whimsical collection. I am going to add in some thread before I add too much more. I'm going to go for that deep pink purple color. I guess it's more of a pink. I'm going to go for the deep golden yellow color. And again, I said this in previous videos so many times, but I love the thread because it adds pops of color, it adds texture, and it just gives, you know, right in that particular spot, I felt like I needed some deep pink. And there it is. I've got it. It's pretty cheap and quick and easy to do. I'm going into this pattern paper with all of the labels and little banner pieces. I'm going to fussy cut this one out. It says good vibes only, and I'm going to stick it right there, kind of on top of the photos. I didn't want to add too much to the top of the photos, but I do add some flowers here shortly. I tried to go through a couple of the sentiment stickers, but I wanted to break up parts of the photos because there's so much white space behind our heads. So I added a yellow flower sticker and then a blue flower sticker just to kind of break up some of that white space. And then I'm going to add a rub-on right here on the bottom underneath that purple flower. And this one has a teal, a dark teal, and a yellow flower on it and some leaves. And I just like how that looked layered underneath that flower die cut. And then I'm going to use this green little piece here that I also cut from that pattern paper. And I changed my title, but I originally just was going to title it Together With You. And I used those multicolored little mini foam alpha thickers. But then I changed my mind. I'm going to peel those up here in just a second and change my mind. I decided to go with this sticker from the sticker sheet and just make the title Good Times With My Girl, because I wanted to use some of those little alphas from the sticker book, and I wanted to use that Good Times sticker. I hadn't used that yet, and I thought, let's use some of these stickers up. And so I like the pop of blue that it gives, and it just kind of helped me come up with a title, because sometimes titles come to me easily and sometimes they take forever, and this one is kind of built in. So I know I'm almost done. I'm pretty sure my timing is almost up, even though my voiceover is probably lagging because of my computer issues, but I'm going to add in a gold flower. The final layout is coming up, or the final shot. I do add some more splatters and some journaling. I do add some black splatters, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions about any of the techniques or products at all, and I'll leave Paige's website linked down below. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great week.